house is haunted by the echo of your last goodbye. The house is haunted by the echo of your last goodbye. The house is haunted by memories that refuse to die. I can't get away from a vision that brings intimate glimpses of intimate things. A voice in my heart like a tart singer sings. I wonder who's kissing her now. The house is haunted by the echo of your favorite song. The place is cluttered up with roses that have lived too long, much too long. The ceiling is white, but the shadows are black. A ghost in my heart says she'll never come back. The house is haunted by the echo of your last goodbye. The house is haunted by the echo of your last goodbye. The house is haunted by the echo of your last goodbye. The house is haunted by memories that refuse to die. I can't get away from a vision that brings intimate glimpses of intimate things. A voice in my heart like a tart singer sings. I wonder who's kissing her now. The house is haunted by the echo of your favorite song.
The bells are ringing, Troy. The bells are ringing.
The bells are ringing.
Good evening, and welcome to the Haunt Hour, with your host Dan Doble, Susie Fleesick, and Troy Crivelone. Join us tonight as we talk about all things haunting and Halloween during the Haunt Hour.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another fantastic Haunt Hour on this Tuesday night. I'm one of the two hosts tonight, Dan the Haunt Guy Doble. I'm here with Troy.
How do we know it's gonna be fantastic?
It's always going to be fantastic. When you and I are on here together.
Oh, you almost messed up. You almost just said when I'm on here.
I said you and I. I said you and I. Yeah, good times, everybody. I'm one of the hosts, Dan the Haunt Guy Double. I'm here tonight with Troy Dynamite Crivelone, and unfortunately, Susie's not going to make it tonight, so we're going to make fun of her for the whole hour so that she feels the need to watch.
I had a whole bit for this too. I was going to say, man, I've been working really hard on the award show editing, which I have been. And I actually created a super secret category, and it was World's Scariest House of Horrors. And it was going to be between her coffee shop while Troy's operating it, your kitchen while it's being remodeled, or Scare Hollow. And of course, I was going to win because Scare Hollow is the scariest house of horrors.
It is definitely.
But it was very close. It was very close between you and.
So did you say House of Horrors or Horrors?
Horrors.
Okay, just wanted to clarify. Just wanted to clarify because if Susie's watching, she might be offended. Anyway,
she's actually just updating her OnlyFans, so that's why she couldn't get.
Yes, she's got a lot of updating to do. She had a busy weekend this weekend. My God. So what's new, Troy? Anything exciting?
I've literally been sitting at this desk every waking moment for the past 5 days, working on the Home Haunter Award show and editing.
Do you want to give me the people that don't know, the three people that don't know what's going on with the Home Haunters Award show? Can you give a little backstory on that just so people know what's going on with that?
I will. Christopher wanted to revive the Dead with Dave Awards. And after Dave fell into a endless pit of despair in his basement, then it got flooded and he had to swim out of that endless pit of despair. And so we decided to continue it. So we created a whole new system, a whole new judging system and a whole new submission thing. And we started it in the Halloween Yard Haunts and Props group. And then we continued on from there. And it's one of the things that we've noticed is that a lot of new people that we've never seen before or have never entered award shows are entering and they're winning. So it's not just your people that
it's not just the good old boys group or the people that everybody knows.
Right.
That's
and
cool.
it's not the same people every year too. Like our display winner, I never knew about him before I saw the awards. So and there's a couple of them on there that I'm like, oh, I now want to follow you. So there was a lot of new stuff in there. So we had 180 submissions last year.
Holy shit.
So we had 90 the year before for 2020, which we were surprised at 90 for 2020. So the 2020 season doubled it basically.
Crap.
Wow. They just kept coming in, and the majority
Do you know how many
of them
submissions Dave had when he did it, like when he first started doing it, or the first couple?
Well,
years?
I know because I was a judge for the very last season that he did it. There were I would say probably anywhere from 130 to 150, maybe.
Okay.
So I know it was always over 100, but probably the first couple of years it was, maybe the second or third year it was closer to 200, but because between him, when he was doing it, it was him, the Home Haunter Awards, or the Home Haunter DVD collection, and the Canadian Haunters.
That's right. They were involved
in awards, and now there's just us and the Canadians. And so we actually work together on stuff, and we always we have a deal with Chris Ainsworth that he gets to post his awards first. That's totally why we took until August to post this.
It's totally the reason.
No, but that's actually true. We actually want him to go first. He's been doing it longer than us, and we also structure our show completely different than theirs, so that we're not stepping on his way of doing it, so that each show is unique. And we have a lot of fun doing it, and we had a lot of help this year doing ours, and we have a lot of funny stuff that we put in there. So.
I can't wait. I'm super excited. I really like the way you guys formatted last year. I can't wait to see what you guys did this year. I really can't. It's gonna be
we have 2 more years that we already have planned out for what we're going to do, and the next year is going to be a secret to Christopher, even if I can pull it off. So it's going to be.
If you need help,
it's going to be beyond epic if I can pull it off, and I need one person's help, and it's going to be hilarious as all hell.
That's awesome.
So but we don't want to detract from the winners and the nominees and all that. But, we want to make it something where if you don't win or you're not nominated, you still had fun watching it, and it's some of the older award shows, you would watch it and it was just here's the categories, here's the nominees, here's the winners, and then it's
It was
over.
very Oscar-esque.
Right. And Dave kind of started it with the banter of the people back and forth and the bloopers at the end. And, Ainsworth kind of does that too. Ainsworth is a little more polished, and then he's got the bloopers at the end. And so we wanted to go the opposite direction and just be, ourselves, silly and stupid.
Yeah.
Because
I thought it was hilarious.
Everybody expects that from us, so.
Yeah. I mean, it's nothing, expect nothing less.
If we walked out there in a suit, in like a tux and red curtains, they'd be like, and click. So,
I would hang out to see, because I feel like you wouldn't make it the whole episode wearing a suit and a tux or even a tie. So
we would probably end up bringing out the Nickelodeon slime after a while or something.
Something fun would happen. So I would probably stay tuned just for that.
Yeah. So in other news, I know that this is making the rounds right now on there. If you have the as of August 1st, 2022 map of haunted places, because I won't say they're houses.
Haunted locations,
not as ghosty ghosts, but haunted attractions.
Haunted Halloween excitement locations.
Most of these are professional or event style things, but there are a good amount of home haunts on here as well. So while you see that there may be 92 haunts in Texas, there's probably 30 or 40 pro haunts.
I feel like there should be more in Texas, because everything's bigger in Texas.
Well, yes, that is true. But the cities are so spaced out, and there's a lot of nothing in between. Like between Dallas and Houston, there's really only Austin. And you've got some cities in between there, but not like big cities, and then like from Dallas to El Paso is nothing. So, California, obviously Ohio is the winner with 127 places. So you literally can't step outside your house without being in a haunted house, it seems. So that's pretty cool. Your state right there, Dan's got 59.
Yep.
It could have 60, Dan, but you're not doing anything. So.
Or am I?
It used to be 58. Where's your cat? You need a cat.
Yeah, I do.
You need an evil cat.
Mr. Bigglesworth.
Right. Also, we had it was Saturday. Two of our previous guests met up at this is a Verbo. We don't
They met up at Verbo. Interesting.
They met up at Verbo. We're gonna skip that. This is Jonathan Perry from the
I was gonna take
Savannah.
Yep.
And Brick Thunder.
Yeah, both of them.
They were
both
together.
Of our previous guests.
And they were I think he was Jonathan was number 2 in line.
Yeah, he was right in the front. I know that.
And I believe Brick was like 7 or 8 or something like that, or number 1. I know they were in the first.
If I were Jonathan, I would have just said, hey, Brick, come on up, buddy. Just come on. You sit with me. Yeah, they were 2 and 3. They were right next to each other. Oh, were they?
And yeah.
I can tell you right now, you and I should go, and we should be 1 and 2 next year. I think we should beat
all these. You have to beat all these Spirit Halloween YouTubers, like all of them. There, I was like, "What's your name? What's your name?" I don't follow that kid.
We'll show up like 3 days earlier, and we'll drink ourselves into oblivion in the front of a Spirit Halloween.
You do know it's in New Jersey, right?
You
know it's in New Jersey. It's in New Jersey.
Who gives a fuck? Oh, that's great.
Gross.
It's an excuse to go out there. It is Jersey. It's that cesspool. That's such a cesspool out there.
New Jersey's gross.
It is gross.
Sorry
to all the New Jersey people that are watching, but
no, they agree. They
probably do.
But yeah, so I watched all of this video because I am literally going into this store. Mine opens, I think, next week, and I am going in this store to write down my name and all the things that I want from this display. I will tell you right now, are you
talking about that one?
Well, no, right behind this guy is and he'll show them in a minute. See that red bubble tube back there?
Yeah, you want it.
They got 4 of them in red, 2 of them in blue, and they're $10 each.
What?
Yeah. The plasma balls that were in the front over right above his head back there.
Wait, they're up for sale for anybody?
Yeah,
or you're just
everything in the display is
$10 a piece.
Yep.
No, but I mean, like, do they sell them?
Yes, everything, and the money goes to charity.
So, but what I'm saying is, do they sell them? So they only have whatever's in the display, is what I'm saying.
So yeah.
Okay.
So when I go in, I'm going to say 4 red bubble tubes, 2 blue bubble tubes. There's those blue tubes right there next to them. Those are supposed to be plasma tubes. So I'm assuming the camera's just not picking up the movement within the tube.
Yeah.
Also, though, these plasma balls up there, they change and they've got that plasma in there, and the towers, those I think are like $15.
How do you, so these, when you say that you have prices, how do you know the prices already?
I may know somebody who may work for the company. So yes. But the other one, and it's actually a really cool new thing they've got. I'm trying to find it here in the video. Is, and this is something that I've seen. I saw it at Dark Hour Haunted House when we went through it at Texas. Inside this walkthrough, after you go by the clowns, there is a video display up in the tower that points down at you. That is actually a spinning disc projection. So there's 200 LEDs on every one of the fins, and it spins to create the video. Yep. So there are 3 of them in the display. There's one up there, and there's 2 there's 2 in this walkthrough in the back, and they are on the wall. So you can see this one shows it really well.
Yeah, I see it there.
And that's a vibrating floor that you can buy as well. Yeah, see, I mean that thing is. So obviously the frame rate is showing it. You do not see those spinning things with the frame rate on his camera.
Interesting.
But yeah, so you can buy everything on those displays. You can buy the actual cardboard displays and everything. That's his haul, by the way.
Of course it is.
Right. So yeah, I will give people the inside scoop. So what you do is you go into the Spirit store pretty much the first day it's open, if possible, and you ask for the ISC or the ICE book or the ICS book, whatever it is. But it's the book for the displays, and it's behind the counter. And in that book is all of the items that are for sale, and you write down your name and your phone number on that list, and you say what you want. Then they will call you, and it's a New Jersey number, so you better answer. Don't be like, oh, I don't know the number. Don't answer. You better answer because you have like a half an hour to either answer or call them back, or show up in the store, and they'll go to the next person.
So you go to the store that is open in your area.
Yep.
You ask for a book in your area.
Yep.
You put your name next to a book in your area, and then Jersey calls you?
Yes, because all the Spirit stores numbers are New Jersey numbers because that's where they're headquartered. So it will say New Jersey, and they will call either the 30th, the 31st, or the 1st. Now, I'll also give you another insider tip. If you go pick it up on the 1st, it will be half off. So like I said, those plasma tubes were $10. They'll be $5 on November 1st.
I find this crazy because how did nobody know about this?
Well, people do, but you have to kind of know the situation of how to get, and that has changed. Well, it's changed over the last couple of years too. Yeah. Before, it used to be you would come in or you would just ask them and they would put your name on it or whatever. And it was manager to manager. That's what I'm used to. Yeah. Right. Now there is actually a book with a name on the back, and the manager will call you. When I got those, the countdown numbers last year, I got 2 of those. I went to 2 different stores to get them. And one called me on Halloween Day. And I was like, you want me to come into your store on Halloween Day? Well, you have a line that goes down the block and start taking down your display that people are walking through. I'm like, I'll come in there if you say that I have to come today to get it. I will absolutely come in there. I don't care about the people in there. I just don't want to be in your way. And they're like, no, we have a ladder set up right there and everything. We don't care about what's going on. We want to get it down. And I'm like, all right, I will show up. The next store called me on the 1st and told me to come in and get it. And it was half off. So all the display stuff all goes to charity. So all the money raised for it. So they care. Of course, they would love for you to get at full price, but they as a company don't care if it's half price because their system only does half price for everything that's left on the floor, no matter what's in the system. The system doesn't know that it's a display item versus an actual product. And so it just automatically deducts 50% off everything that goes on their screen on that first. But yeah, you can get any of the items in the store that's on the display.
I'm gonna have to make a run over there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know when our store's opening, but we got one in our town. So
there's a lot of them are opening. There a lot of them should be opening later this week. Some of them are even opening as early as the 4th. But most of them will be open by the 15th. give or take. Like we had a couple last year that waited. They were like, it was almost Labor Day before they opened because of all the supply chain crap. So
yeah, interesting.
But yep,
Learned something new. So there you go, everybody.
there you go.
It's your Halloween your spirit stores, because you
Just don't come to my neighborhood
almost free shit.
because I have it covered. I know where all the
nobody
stores
wants to go to
are.
Portland, so I think you're all right.
That's true. I'm pretty safe here. It's the only time I am safe here.
Yeah. Yeah, when you want to get Halloween shit.
Yeah, right.
So what's going on tonight, Troy? What are we? Who are we talking
You know
to
what?
today?
I
What's the
feel
plan?
like I want to do some
Oh.
mining. I want to do some mining.
Mining.
Yeah, I want to do
Okay.
some mining. I want to go deep into a mine and maybe find some skeletons and and
We
stuff like
shoot
that.
shit while we're there too?
Huh?
Can we shoot shit while we're there too?
I think we can. I think we can this year. Last year they didn't get their permits for shooting, so now
Now
we
there's
can
permits
shoot
for
this year.
shooting.
Yeah.
So let me get this straight. We're going to a home haunters like pit.
Mine. Yeah,
Mine?
yeah. I mean, it's
And
like a
we're gonna
mine
shoot
shaft. Like
shit
you
while
stand
we're waiting.
outside of it. Yeah, you stand on the edge, and then he pushes you in, and then you have to shoot your way out. Right?
Oh, well, maybe he shoots you and you fall in.
Right, Sean?
Yeah, that's pretty accurate.
I mean, give or take. Right.
Get in there.
Yeah. So this
Everybody,
is
Sean Herman. Sean
Herman.
everybody.
Woo!
Woohoo!
Hi guys.
As you can tell, we do not work on our segues or our introductions prior to the show.
Nope. We rely on Susie for that, and she's not here tonight.
I
So.
know, right? Ruined.
Totally ruined.
Yeah. So,
So Sean, talk to us about you and your history with haunting and how you got into this fantastic holiday.
Totally. Yeah. Man, where to start? So, I mean, I guess the love for Halloween spawns back to when I was a kid. I think that's pretty much everybody who's into haunting. So I won't really talk too much about that. There was only like maybe a few key highlights that I could kind of like point to that have references maybe to some stuff here in the future from these points. But there was one. My very first haunted house was actually in a high school in my hometown, and it was like the worst haunted house you could imagine, with like literally nothing. It was practically just black sheets, and you just walk through, and people would, they would just pop out at you. So it was never. It was pretty weak, But at the same time, that was my first experience, and it was amazing. Like I definitely was hooked on it, and then from that moment on, me and my brother, who's 4 years older than me, we would try to go to a whole bunch of different haunted houses when we were younger, and then the only one that I might talk about here, just so we don't go through every single haunt I went through as a kid, but there was one at an amusement park here at this amusement park in Denver called Elitch's, and it was called, I believe it was called Brutal Planet. But what was really interesting about it was the people who put it on, and I didn't know this at the time, like I didn't know anything about haunting, but the people that were integral in putting it on were Ed and Marcia Edmonds from Distortion.
Oh, fun.
So they were pretty integral, and like that was at a time when their electric chair prop was like really, really popular. So I just remember like over and over, like going through that maze, and it was like an Alice Cooper. They had like brought on like Alice Cooper IP, and they had a whole bunch of cool stuff in there. And I remember there was just this one room that was like all skeletons. There were skeletons on the wall, but the guy had a skeleton suit on, and he was built into the wall. And you walked into this room, it was just all skeletons, and this dude came out with his suit and scared the heck out of you. And to be honest, that was one of the most influential pieces. Like the high school one was cool because it kind of like
kickstarted you.
Yeah, it kind of got me like interested in it. But yeah, the Distortions one in Denver, it was definitely the level of detail that has kind of inspired me through these years.
That's one of my with anybody who's ever gone to a haunted house with me, and the people that went to Haunted Overload with me last year saw it firsthand. That is one of the rooms that gets me every time, is when you have a bunch of figures all dressed the same and you walk through it and one of them moves. And I sit there and I walk in the room and I go, one of you's going to move, one of you's going to hit me, one of you's going to hit me. And then I still freak the fuck out every time.
You never know. And that's
just,
that's the worst part about it, because you're like staring at something that is or isn't real.
Well, and somebody said, look at the shoes. And so I'm like, well, that's why they put the cloaks all the way to the ground. Then you can't see the shoes anymore. I'm like, dang it.
Yeah, that's actually a good idea. I never thought to look at the shoes or look down, but
because they're not going to put a bunch of shoes. They're not going to go to Goodwill. I mean, a fantastic haunter would absolutely go to Goodwill and get a bunch of shoes.
Or just one pair of shoes and put it on somebody else.
All the same pair. Yeah.
True. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So I think, and I was probably like 15, maybe at the time when I went to Brutal Planet. I don't even know what year that was, but maybe even younger. Maybe I was 12 or something. But I think that was like the very, very first spark. And of course, my family was always into haunted houses, but my biggest influence was my older brother, because he was the one who was driving me to these things with him, and we still do that together to this day, which is really cool. But you could fast forward through pretty much my entire life, and I completely ignored and forgot about Halloween all the way up until me and my wife had kids. And then it was like it was just one of those reasons where I was like, oh man, I forgot that I used to love this, Yep. And so we would get our kids dressed up as like E.T. or like a weatherman. And like, we had all these cool costumes. And then like it slowly started getting bigger and bigger, ultimately until we started like a pretty extensive yard display. And that was when like kind of the key turned over. It was like, okay, like we're going to move into a yard display, and it added stuff every single year. Yeah. Yep. And so this was a pretty early on year here. But this was an example of kind of what our yard display looked like. Like we live in a neighborhood that is pretty much all children. So like it was always like a weird balance between showing like blood, like you saw the chainsaw kind of at that beginning one, and making it scary but not like too scary. And then this was actually the first year that we introduced any blood at all. And then it was actually
what year was this?
This was 16 maybe, or 17?
17.
Yeah. And so this was the last year we did any blood really ever, so from this point forward, we've like had this kind of goal to not necessarily make it gory or like intense like that, but we would much prefer to have it very visceral, textural, spooky, ghostly, that sort of thing. So
basing it off your clientele, which is kids from 6 to 13. Correct?
Exactly. Yeah. So even for me, like I go to haunted houses, and I go to a lot every single year now that I've been into this for this many years, but still my favorite stuff is the stuff that most people are like, this isn't even scary, like just a hallway with like a couple doors, and you just have to go straight, like to me, like what's up here and what you see and smell and all that stuff is much more like the textures of the walls and stuff like that is much, much more terrifying to me than a guy with a chainsaw and an apron. But I do have a little piece in my heart for some of that gore stuff, but I definitely lean more towards the Haunted Mansion and Knott's Berry Farm type stuff.
Yeah, I would agree with you, Sean. I'm not a big gore person either. I mean, I can take it, but it's not top of my list. It's not like, that's not what scares me. I love going to haunted houses to get the scare, to mentally immerse myself into a scene or a scenario or a haunt in its entirety. The gore doesn't, because it's not, I don't know if it's because I can't process that as reality because it is so over the top, or if it's just because it's not my thing. But it's scary, dark, like you said, that hallway where you don't know where anybody's going to be,
Right.
Mhm.
or there's a drop panel there and you don't know when that motherfucker is going to drop on you. That stuff gets me way more than bloody knives and.
There's a place for the for blood.
Absolutely.
If the scene called for, like a butcher room or something like that,
Yes, absolutely.
But if it sets the scene, but the action is not gory and bloody and stuff like that, because the actor's doing something else, but the scene is bloody, because that it happened earlier, or something like that, that's fine.
Yeah, and I even have, like some of my props are like zombie based, So naturally, like some of those props definitely have, like gross cuts, extrusions all over, and there is like some liquid that definitely could be blood if you want to look at it that way. But like that doesn't necessarily mean that it's like gory. It's just more like realistic and like
you're
you
setting
can't have a zombie without his skin falling off. You know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah. And then so I think it was like a weird transition. It was kind of like we live in Colorado. I don't know if we said that up front, but we live in Colorado, and every year, I would have all these animatronics and pneumatics and stuff in the yard, and every year it seemed to just like snow, and like I would go out at like 2 a.m. and start plastic bagging every prop that I have. And then like bringing in, like unplugging all the controllers and stuff like that, because I was worried they were going to like freeze. So it's like, it's a big protection of your investment to like keep stuff out in the yard. And so you're like, okay, it's like 2 a.m, but I don't care. Like, I don't want to break all my like, prop controllers and stuff like that. So I would go out there and wrap them in towels and stuff like that. So it got to a point where I was getting bored with like the same layout and space of our front yard. And B, I just didn't like the weather. So the next step from that was just kind of like, okay, well, let's put it in the garage. And I was debating, like when we first started doing the whole garage, whether just to do like a display that was kind of like you would like have like a show almost, like where someone could stand in front of your garage and watch it, or kind of just like step in and see like a graveyard inside your garage. But the goal would be that I could just close the garage door and forget about it, and I think because even in our yard display, we had show elements that we would also do a show in the yard display. So there was video based stuff there too. But ultimately, we made the call to do what you're seeing here. This was actually our very first year of doing a walkthrough. So one
and
thing.
What year was this?
I think
2019.
Yeah, this was 19. Yep. Yeah. So 2019. There may have been 1 year before this, if this was 2019, but it was the same theme ultimately. But our first 2 years were a Victorian mansion. And so, from the yard display, we wanted a way to like reuse props because I didn't want to just like get rid of everything we had, So I was like, okay, like what's my favorite theme? And we'll just do that. And my favorite theme, like I'm a very heavily inspired by the Disney's Haunted Mansion. I
showing this at all.
Yeah, and I do, and I think there's like, and actually it's hard for me to say Haunted Mansion because I actually think the Phantom Manor is more like what I enjoy, which is like a bit more like Western and like spooky. Like if you look at the Phantom Manor facade versus like the New Orleans Haunted Mansion one, there's like the visual where I'm like, okay, that's clearly I'm more in the Phantom Manor world. And you can kind of see that influence when we've moved down into the mine shaft, which is our current theme. But yeah, so this was our first walkthrough. I do think it was interesting because we learned a lot, right? So it's only a 2-car garage. We have about 300 square feet total. We have generally 5 zones within there. So you have like this entryway, hallway 1. So we just call it hallway 1, the cemetery, which is kind of a big cemetery. We have hallway 2. And then we have like the big main show room. And then we have like the exit room. So there's always kind of like 5 5 zones of scares, you know. And so you're seeing in this video right now, you've just left hallway 1 and you're going into the cemetery. So there's a lot of things.
Cemeteries outside.
No,
This is all in the garage.
I don't think I've ever seen a cemetery inside a garage.
Yeah, so there's a lot of tricks that I had to do for this because all our wall panels are 8 feet because we also have to worry about the garage clearing those panels.
Yep.
Oh, right.
Yep. The garage door, you mean? Yeah.
Yeah. And so one thing that is cool though is like behind like where the garage door stops when it's opened, it's 14 feet up. So you can go all the way to the ceiling and it looks much, much bigger. So in the actual cemetery, you'll notice that there's like a matte black drop to kind of give the illusion of distance, you know?
Yeah, totally looks like it. Now I can see it, but yeah.
Yeah, it goes all the way to the roof. So that thing's like 14 feet tall. And it does help sell kind of because your focus is on like the immediate, you know, you're not really looking too much at the drop.
Yes.
But yeah, I would say it's only about 1.5 feet maybe to that sheet. Because 300 square feet is a tiny space.
Yeah, it's a tiny spot, but so far it looks a lot bigger. I'm already surprised.
Yeah.
I'm always surprised what people can put in the 2-car garages.
Yep.
I'm just like, man, that's crazy.
Yeah, and this one, we learned. Yeah, this was actually pre-COVID. This was the year right before COVID. Yeah, so this was 2019. Because you'll see in the next video, it's the same layout, but there's a few differences. One difference was there wasn't an actor behind there. It was just a 2-way like scrim sheet with a light that turned on a zombie. So it gave the same effect, but definitely not as cool, obviously. But yeah, and so the biggest things from, you know, where we were in this first year of doing the walkthrough to where we are now is just learning how to use the space even more. You know, I think we've taken the space and kind of learned a few things. And with this mansion, you'll notice that everything is like very straight and square because like a house kind of has square edges, right? It's not very rounded. So that makes it easy from a design perspective. But one thing we learned is like if you can like start to fake some round corners and stuff like that, you can get a lot more like visual space in there. And so one of the biggest influences in the current theme that we have, so we ran that theme for 2 years and then we moved over to a haunted mine shaft. And that's what we've been doing. This is our 2nd year as the haunted mine shaft.
This video right here.
This is the 2020.
Got it.
Yeah, this is the 2020 COVID year where we had to like wear masks and no actors and stuff like that. And so you'll notice there's some differences, you know, like obviously
added layers.
Yeah, the skeleton tells a story up front. So this is very heavily inspired from Haunted Mansion 2, where it's like, because it's so small, like if somebody really just walked through it, it would probably take 15 seconds to go through the haunt, you know?
Right.
So the goal is to try to like give these show elements a little bit of pause and like interest. So when you walk in the door, there's a step mat that triggers him and he kind of tells you a backstory and then gives you some directions and then says, you know, get out of here, you know, and then that's kind of your cue to continue on. So this year it was essentially very, very similar, just with better lighting. You know, I think we learned a lot with like spotlights, nano spots. We changed a few things. We had to change a few things because of COVID. So there was like, previously we would have like stuff you had to crawl through in each doorway to like get through to the next one. This one, we tied it all back. So you can see there's just like a straight shot, like your sight lines are just wide open. So there were some things that were a lot of a bigger of a bummer, to be completely honest, because in such a small space, that breaking that sight line as much as possible was key because it kept you kind of like slowing down. Whereas if things are just open, you just walk through, you know. So that was something. Yeah, that was something we learned. That was, and you can see there's that scrim effect instead of an actor. But that's something we definitely learned.
I do love your walls. Your walls are great with the
So,
way you
yeah, if I don't mind stopping you here, the lighting in this room, what kind of lighting did you use? Because it
So
shows it really good on video, but I would imagine, I mean, blue and greens always show up really well.
Yeah.
I was just wondering what kind of lighting you used in this room because it looks really
yeah,
good.
yeah, thank you. I think lighting and scent is like 80% of an entire haunt.
You're
Um,
100%
so
correct.
like my biggest focus is on lighting first. Scents are pretty easy. You can find the right scent. Well, scents are actually very difficult, but the actual technical aspect of adding a scent to a room, I think, is easy. But
Yeah.
finding the right scent that actually connects with the props that you have in those rooms is nice. But lighting, all in all, I think is by far, if there's one thing that a haunter could get better at continually, it's better lighting, you know. And
It's
even from
amazing.
this, you'll notice that there's like all this lighting doesn't have any gobo lighting, like there's no texture lighting, there's none of that going on.
A lot of
And that's,
layers of lighting.
yeah, so all this is just LED floodlights, but I turn my floodlights down to their lowest setting possible
Okay.
because I do think LEDs are far too bright generally,
Especially
and
blue.
especially blue.
Yeah.
Yeah, blues come out really, really heavy. But I think, you know, like this one, I've actually learned a lot since this one, and I think you'll kind of notice that in the mine shaft. One thing that I did want to do with this one, which you'll notice is a complete 180 in the current theme, is I wanted to make it colorful because I wanted to make it more for kids. You know, I wanted it to be, you know, you like look at like Michael Jackson Thriller video, and it's like there's blues and purples, and it's colorful and it's poppy. That's definitely what I wanted to do with this because I wanted to show the kids a bit more like interest. So I used colors like crazy in this one. Whereas if you look at the current mineshaft one, I refuse any color. It's and this is the current theme. So I refuse all color. It's 100% natural light. So I use amber based LEDs, a lot of like textural lighting. If there is any color, it would be in the graveyard just to like give some sort of like green, you know, so it doesn't feel just like brown everywhere. But you can notice like all the lanterns, the only lighting in the whole place that you actually see as a guest is lanterns and like industrial lights. But yeah, so this is moving forward from the Victorian mansion into the current theme. And this one, my wife had the idea of doing a mine shaft. So it was her idea. And I'm obsessed with this era. So I'm from Colorado. So the whole gold mining thing, the gold rush and all that is a very, very big thing in Colorado, you know. So I grew up, you know, going and exploring the mountains and seeing all the gold mines on the side of the highway and stuff like that. So I've been intrigued with this era of human history for a long, long time. So when she said that, you know, I was like, oh, that brings up so many good ideas, you know?
Right.
And one of them being this elevator ride that we've built.
I was just going to ask you that. Did you make this yourself?
Yeah. So we made the entire elevator and then did the entire 3D render. We did the whole video custom for our theme. The only thing that we didn't make is the actual airbag platform. We got that from Fright Props just because, number one, I think safety is paramount, you know, and if I built something on airbags that was running off that much pressure, I wouldn't necessarily feel super comfortable with putting kids in that ride.
Yep.
I agree.
So, and on top of that, you're right. Time is money. If I spent my time building something like that, it would take way too long. So one of the biggest things for that was safety, time, and then just quality. So I'm a big fan of investing into stuff if it's going to make it really good. But yeah, everything but the platform is all made by us. So the 3D, yeah, you can see this. This is one of the 3D renders that we did for it. But one thing that's really cool with this too is even in the vents. So there's LED lights in the vents. we try to break the illusion of the screen. So as that light goes past the screen here, you still see it pass through the vent. So there's some, even like in the video and stuff like that, there's stuff you cannot see, like it's really, really intense. And actually we had a professional Foley artist do all the audio as well for this. So the Foley artist is a guy who works at PlayStation Studios. So he does Foley for like video games. And he's what's his name? I forget his name. Blake Collins. There he is.
Blake, yeah.
Yeah. So he and his like assistant did all the Foley audio for that, and I had my buddy do all the 3D, and I did all the wireframes and concept and stuff. But super cool. So the elevator, really, really fun. We have a full kind of walkthrough of how we built the walls and stuff like that. Like I 3D printed all the little bolt heads. There's probably like 200 little bolts all over in there. So that was definitely a labor of love last year. That took several months to build that thing.
And all of this is modular, correct? Like you can take all this apart and store it easily?
they're all flat. So all these walls are 4x8 panels. One thing that is cool about the walls in the mine shaft are the wood that we got is actually like 100-year-old wood. So it smells like a mine shaft in there. And it's not, like all that wood's authentic and old, and it's from like a 100-year-old barn in Longmont, Colorado. So it was hard. Like, as you can see, if you pause it here, this area right here, the do not enter, just on the other side of that is the elevator. So we have to kind of like hide it, but also add enough space because it's moving around.
It's moving around. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You don't want it to hit that wall. So there's a good 1.5 feet of dead space behind that. So this is actually one area that we're going to focus on this year to make it much, much better. But what's hard about that is because we had the really old 100-year-old wood everywhere. That was like the last thing we had to make, and we kind of ran out of wood. And I didn't want to just go like find other wood because it wouldn't match. Yeah. So I have some ideas to make it much more scary and interesting.
Well, and if you use wood that isn't the same, use it in the darker areas where it wouldn't be seen.
Yep. Yeah, or on the roof. I think we might do a lot of roof stuff this year as well.
There you go.
But yeah, if you want to jump back real quick, I can kind of explain this scene. So once you kind of pass that dead zone, which I don't love, there's definitely this scene. And you can see, like, if you pause it here, one thing, like I had mentioned, like the Victorian and the previous years, everything was square, right? Yeah. It was like a house, so it was really square. If you look at all the cave walls in this mine, I couldn't do them square. So if you look at all the panels, they're actually like making circles, so that they feel more bubbly. But what's cool about that is it started to make it feel more realistic and less like a like cheesy walkthrough attraction.
What did you make the walls out of?
So this is a wall panel system that you can actually buy from this company in Texas called Universal Rocks. They build like zoo enclosures for like zoos. They also build like waterfalls for backyards and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
So with the walls, it was really kind of crazy. We had like 3 different ideas, and I reached out to a few other home haunters, like Rotten Apple 907 in Burbank, California. And then there was one other haunter that I reached out to that had done cave walls before. And I was trying to get all these different ways that we could do it. And the first way was brown paper, right? You crumple craft paper and then you put it on the wall. The second way was foam.
Yep.
And then carving rock out of foam. And I was just like, dude, no, I'm good.
That takes a whole year.
Yeah. And with how much rock, like if you look back, even where that scare actor was when he did the jump scare, that rock panel goes up 14 feet. So this one right here, and you can't see it in the video, but if you look on our Instagram, this rock wall is 14 feet tall. So when you're in there, you look up, you could pretty much rock climb upside down on this thing. It's massive. So the biggest thing that, again, just like the platform for the elevator, we were thinking about safety, number one. So right there where that guy kind of jumps out at you, every time he would jump out, I would say 50% of the time, the person getting scared would jump against that wall, right?
Yeah.
So you have people that are, 200 pounds leaning into this thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, craft paper, if someone's doing that, it's going to be gone in one go.
Yep.
Right.
You're
and
right.
then foam, it'll stay there, but you're going to see white chunks every time someone runs into it.
It's not going to look realistic after the first night.
Yeah. And so I also have aspirations of opening a full-time haunted house within the next 5 years or so. So also too, I approach home haunting also as like kind of an investment, a little bit. So it was worth me from a safety perspective to make the walls really rigid, like you can run over these walls with a semi truck and they'll just pop right back out. So that's why we went with those. And also they're super flexible. So if we change the layout, we're not committed to like
something that fits that room now. Yep.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Is that real dirt on the floor? What's on the floor?
We always use mulch. Yeah. Okay. 2 reasons. Dirt is heavy.
Yeah.
And then also mulch, when you first put it in there, it smells really intense.
True.
So it kind of makes it like musty in there. It's like almost wet and musty. So it has a really interesting smell that I think really works well. So yeah, we use mulch everywhere. And then this room. So this room is a 3-axis skull that we've built this prop and programmed him. We also did the VO for him. This year, I think the upgrade that we're going to try to do, if you watch it on our Instagram, he says something along the lines of like, what are you doing down here? This cave mine's going to blow. And then he's the one that does the plunger and blows you up. So what the biggest part of that scare is 100%. There's a down fogger right where you're standing. And as soon as his eyes light up red and he says, I'm going to blow it up, that fog sprays you from the top. And it's super scary because it's super loud too and hot. It's like hot, steamy fog on top of your head. And it's like the last thing you kind of expect. And so I'm a huge fan of scares from above.
That's awesome.
I think, if and when I do a full-time haunt, I'm going to have actors laying on their stomachs all night, being in the And I think it's some of the scariest stuff is you don't even expect it. And then a hand kind of comes down from the ceiling. Some of that stuff is the most effective scaring, in my opinion. But yeah, so then you got the cemetery. So the whole reason I did a cemetery, so after you kind of get exploded in the dynamite room, you enter into the cemetery. There were 2 reasons I did the cemetery. Number one, all my previous years have been like Victorian based. So I have cemetery props. Right. And I was like, I don't want to just store these props. I need to use them, but they don't make sense inside a gold mine. So I was like, okay, like what if you exit the gold mine and you exit through the cemetery? So that was the way I was able to reuse some of the props in a way that didn't break the theme. So that you've actually exited the actual mine shaft here and you're on your way out for kind of one last scare.
I love this, how she's just sitting there rocking. She's got what looks like, with just a little amount of smoke and just that little bulb in there,
Yep.
That's
it's good stuff.
So, and these are a lot of the stuff is like kind of homages to like what I was talking about, like Brutal Planet. A lot of my zombie props are actually from Ed from Distortions.
Yep.
So it's kind of just like, like that's what got me into haunting back when I was a teenager. So it's like a privilege and an honor. And I know them now because they're in Colorado too. But it's kind of like an honor and an homage to them as a company. So that is, that's last year's haunt. Pretty wild stuff.
I absolutely love it. I was just gonna say we're running out of time, but I want to talk to you about the shooting gallery.
Yeah.
What is this all about?
So, of course, every year, every haunter wants to like do something new, you know? So not only this year do we want to update some stuff in the elevator, we've got some new props coming for like the cemetery. We are actually going to make the dynamite plunger plunge, for the skeleton. Because right now, he doesn't actually move his arm. So the whole facade of him kind of plunging the dynamite doesn't really make sense, but nobody really notices anyway, except for me. So on top of all those little subtle things, I wanted to make a mine cart for the facade and stuff like that. If you look at the facade here, you can see there's that area where we have like a popper zombie, which is like a pneumatic that opens the coffin lid and pops his head out. And then we have this vulture. One thing I wanted to do for the kids was make it interactive a little bit. So what we decided to do is make a shooting gallery, because there's nothing more classic than like a 1980s Western shooting gallery. Like that's a very classic theme. And since we've done the hard work of building the entire facade, it's not going to be too much more work. Well, it's actually a ton of work to build a shooting gallery, but from a visual perspective, we don't have to build a whole facade behind it. We already have.
You just have to set it up so it works.
Right.
Yep. So this video here, this is my buddy who lives in my neighborhood, and he's really, really good with controllers and electronics and stuff like that. He's been bringing his family to our haunted house ever since we've been open. So he kind of reached out this past year and has said like, hey, if there's ever anything that we could partner on, let me know. Yeah. And so there's two things I want to build in my home haunter world. One of them is a shooting gallery and the other one is a dark ride. So, so the dark ride being much more extensive, right? I was like, all right, let's start with something small and do a full shooting gallery. So what we decided to do was build it from scratch, so that we could, like, I don't know if anybody here has ever tried to like look at what options there are for like props for shooting galleries and stuff like that. It doesn't exist. There's
it's very minimal. There's one or two.
Yeah, there's
one. I know there's a guy that makes them.
There's one other haunter, Restless Hollow, and I've actually tried to get him on the show as well. He made a shooting gallery a couple years ago, and I'm seeing the similar type of stuff. And he's like, it was one of the most intense things he's ever done. It's just because, like you said, none of it exists. You have to create all of it.
I feel like there's a company that came out that was at Transworld a few years ago, maybe 5 years ago, that came out with this right when paintball was getting big.
Oh,
they came out with this, and it was all laser. It was all laser based, or radar, or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
Yep.
I don't remember who made it, but I do remember seeing it and talking to the guy about it, and that was about as far as it got.
Yeah.
Yeah, and actually, I know who you're talking about, because before I did this, I researched if I could just buy a setup.
Yeah.
Like, dude, I don't know if I want to go through all this. And I actually talked to that guy. I go to Transworld every year. So if any of the listeners are out there, let me know if you go this coming year, because we'll probably be there. But I talked to him because I knew earlier this year? Yeah, earlier this year in March or February or whatever it was. I talked to him because I had been emailing with that guy.
Yeah.
And I was like interested in maybe getting the rifle from him, because then that would save me at least a little bit of time. But ultimately I met him and it just wasn't the right fit. Like it just wasn't as good as I was hoping and stuff like that. So I was like, you know what, we're going to build it from scratch. So where we started with was the targets. It was by far, well, not by far the most complicated, but it was the most integral piece, right?
And I'm assuming you 3D printed all that.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, we 3D print quite a bit of stuff, including like full skull heads and stuff like that.
Wow.
So we're pretty into the whole 3D printing thing.
Yeah.
But
you,
so
would you
we
be
started.
interested in selling this? Not kidding.
You get to be that vendor at Transworld next
Kidding,
year.
not kidding.
Yeah,
Kidding,
I
not
know. I've actually had like 3 people ask
Yeah.
that so far, and one of them's like an amusement park.
It's gonna be more now because.
Anyway,
moving on.
I don't have
digress.
any interest in becoming a haunted house vendor.
Fair enough.
But that being
God
said,
bless you.
this whole series we did on YouTube. So you can go and buy all these parts we list all the parts in the YouTube videos.
Wow.
And we give everything away. We're even thinking about giving the code away for the Arduino, the actual code that runs it and stuff like that. So yeah, I would say, like I have a full-time job, it's not worth my time to like sling shooting galleries at this time in my life.
Hey, Dan, you're not doing anything.
Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm good right now.
So we don't have any plans to do that, but we'll see how it goes this year. But I would say if you are watching and you are genuinely interested, watch these videos because we've gone through all of the hard stuff for you and kind of made all this stuff.
I like the fact that you lit them up because I think Restless Hollow, I don't think he lit his up like that. Like around
the light up is like that's key.
Yeah,
like,
I really like that
shit in a dark, haunted house lit area.
Yeah.
Even the stuff that I've seen at like shows and stuff like that.
Oh, and it pulses on and off too. Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, we have some code for these too. Like, I don't know. I'm a big pinball fan. So like one big thing that if you've ever played pinball, if you're not playing a pinball machine, the thing's freaking crazy, dude. It's like it's called like attraction mode, So its whole goal is to kind of like get you to notice it. So that was one big thing we did, and you can see that in our latest YouTube tutorial video for this. Is like if it's not being actively played, it kind of like twinkles and dances a little bit, But yeah, these are all just like this is just the tutorial series to how to make your own shooting gallery. That being said, it's not easy. You got to know a good amount. But yeah, we retrofitted the entire rifle. It's a BB gun that we like broke into pieces and rebuilt. And when you pull the trigger, it like has a little vibration motor.
How many hours did you spend just on setting this up, like to create this? I can't.
At this point, it's mostly my buddy Jason because he's doing all the controllers and stuff by hand. But I would say we started maybe like 3 or 4 months ago, I'd say.
So we're talking hundreds of hours to create this, and
I couldn't give you a full number. To be honest.
I'm going to go with thousands.
I don't want to like misspeak.
Thousands of hours, Sean. Thousands of hours.
Millions. I started this when I was 10 years old.
Millions of hours. Millions of hours.
But so this was a really and it's still actively a really cool project. So I post stuff on our Instagram page about this project every time there's an update. It's fully done now. We got all the audio done. The only thing I need to do is connect all the props to the relay. So the actual props that we'll have is the vulture, the coffin popper, an underground pneumatic popper, a box of dynamite, a lantern, and a shovel. So we'll have 6 targets to shoot.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So cool.
Cool. So that's coming this year.
Amazing work, Sean.
Yeah, I love just the extra, and I also wanted to comment on your filming style, the way that you film.
Very cinematic.
Like I just got done giving a class at Texas Hunters for home haunt videography, and I think we used one of your videos. I can't remember. We didn't get through the whole class, so I can't remember what videos we showed. But you didn't spend too much time on something, but you spent enough time to where you felt like you were walking through it. And that was one of the big things that I kind of told people is I was like, you can either film it as you're walking through it as a patron, or you can film it like you're trying to show everybody exactly what you made. There's 2 different types of walkthrough videos, and you kind of did both those together. You made it look like a person was walking through it, but you also stayed on enough stuff to show the detail. And I really
Yeah.
love, I mean, even your 2017 video, I mean, obviously you can see the progression, but even then your style of filming is very good. So I hat off to you
Thank
on
you very
that.
much. Yeah, if there is one tip that I could give for that stuff too, is exactly what you said. Is you nailed it on the head. Is like do it with just enough detail to where you kind of see some of the detail, but you're not just like zooming into like the bolts on the elevator, right?
Right.
And like looking at the button that you rusted for 5 hours and
Right.
all that sort of stuff. I would say because even when I watch our walkthrough video, I'm like, dude, you don't even see like 80% of it.
It's hard to do walkthrough videos.
Like
Yeah.
people when they walk through a haunt, it's like this. Like
Yeah.
you don't.
Right.
They have no
right.
idea. They remember the beginning and the end.
True.
And that's really it. I mean, you remember
Yeah.
the first room. If you interview people at a haunted house and you say, "What's your favorite room?" They're either going to say the vortex tunnel, the Oprah's vagina, or the first room or the last room. That's all they're going to remember. It's all they remember
because it's just so much.
Yep.
And that's one of the hardest things about home haunts, especially ones that are in garages, is because it's in a much smaller space and your eyes are wider, but you try to make your video that wide and it looks terrible, know? And so you're like, I can't make it look, it is impossible to film what your eyes see naturally, which I think is weird given the time we're in.
That's
I'm surprised. I mean, I'm sure there's a $70,000 camera that can do it,
Well, actually, this year, I am thinking of making a VR walkthrough of our haunt. So
there you go.
You can actually look up.
Look around.
Because you can rent those cameras, and it's not too crazy. You just rent it for one night. But I would say like the biggest thing is walk through it as if you were a patron and walking through and focusing on the bigger details, but leaving those really, really fine details for like daytime walkthroughs. Where you're like, hey, and look at this. I'm going to go today just through the elevator.
Separate videos. Yes. Yeah. For the people that want to look through it, like the people that want to look through your shooting gallery, they don't want that in the walkthrough, 1, 2. They, show the shooting gallery, show a couple people doing it, but don't spend the time showing them how you made it. So, making all these different videos, that's what hooks them into being a fan. And what gets them there is your walkthrough video that's 6-7 minutes long, So it's great how you do that. Patrick wanted to give you absolutely amazing work. So did 13 Skeletons. Who actually he kind of made a mine theme this year as well. He kind of he changes his themes up every year, and he did a pretty cool mine theme this year too.
Patrick or 13?
13 Skeletons. So you should check out his video. He has a lot of cool mine stuff.
Yeah,
he was able to put 2 of the 12-foot skeletons underneath, like in a mine jail and stuff like that. It was pretty intense.
Bonkers.
That's pretty big.
And you don't obviously have to tell us, money. Money's always but what would you give somebody advice on how to budget for something short term and long term? Obviously you were looking at your shooting gallery thing. You also didn't build 6 other props, right along with it.
Yeah, budget is such an interesting thing because it's different for everybody.
Yep.
Right.
But and it's different based on your intentions too.
Right.
So and there's different levels that you could do and quality and all that sort of stuff. For me personally, I've always looked at budget a bit differently than a few home haunters, mainly because I do have a goal of creating something bigger in the future. So I can justify some more higher costs, knowing that it's just all going to be stored until
reused
we move it into the next building. Yeah, because like one thing it is too is like also I don't think I mentioned this, but the Victorian haunt is completely separate from the haunted mine shaft. So we have 2 haunted houses in a storage unit. And the goal with that would be we're going to use those for different rooms. So we don't reuse really anything in our haunts. So that being said, that's a huge way you could cut budget too, is make your wall panels much more flexible than we do. Every wall panel we make, it's like I'm not taking off those 100-year-old
Right.
wood panels.
Right.
Like that's
You could put one scene on one side, and then next year you want to flip it around, then the other side of the panel has a different theme,
you
so
could totally do that. Yeah.
So at least you have two,
Yeah.
two themes you could do with flipping your walls,
I mean,
around.
With budget, I mean, budget is all based on what you
Well,
want to spend. So
right,
I mean, that's
right.
the first thing you want to talk about.
Yeah.
Tell yourself is, I want to spend this amount of money, and then work off of that budget. I mean, it's
Well,
budget
and always
101.
remember
You know what I
that.
mean? Like, if you have $100,000 budget that you would get to play with, and that's what you want to spend, well, then
Right.
you're going to be able to do more and have more fun with things. But I shouldn't say that's relative as well. You have higher costs then.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it really, I mean, I don't know how to even answer that. If you have, I guess it'd be more relative to, hey, I have $500 to spend. What would I spend it on?
Right.
You know
yeah.
what I mean? That's the direction I would go. And then I would say lighting.
Lighting.
That would
Yeah.
be definitely,
Lighting. Absolutely.
because you can make a pile of garbage look pretty fucking creepy with some lighting.
Yeah.
Why are you talking about my home haunt like that?
Listen, man, you mastered lighting. What can I say?
Yeah,
I did theater lighting for high school, so that's my thing.
Which is very important.
Yes.
But one thing I would say with budget too is like, I mean, if you look at things on a yearly thing, so this year we're adding the shooting gallery, right?
Right.
The shooting gallery is just all little like computer boards that you buy on Amazon, like those are like dollars,
Right.
So
Yep.
the BB gun I think was like the biggest cost, which was like $150 maybe, because it's actually like a real BB gun that we tore apart, because like the toy guns were just too breakable and cheap, and they didn't feel heavy, and they were plastic, and if you break that apart, it's not going back together, so
Right.
there's things that you have to kind of invest a little bit into. But I would say all in all, the shooting gallery, the actual components are probably under $200, right? All in. That being said, the props that are going to be triggered, those are much more expensive, just because they're pneumatic professional haunted house props. That being said, some of those, like, you don't have to go that far, and it can be just as fun and just as effective. So like we have two that are just audio based triggers. So one of them is a lantern. So if you shoot the lantern doesn't move, it just is a sound that says it breaks, and then the other one is the dynamite. The dynamite doesn't explode because we don't live in Hollywood. It just makes a loud noise, So there's budget things that you can figure out. And one thing that I would say too is, honestly, like I live in a neighborhood that's actively building houses, and I'll go for a run and there's a building and you just look in the trash can and there is just countless things of scrap wood. I've seen stuff like not even scrap wood from the build, but scrap wood that looks like it's supposed to go to the junkyard, like old fence boards and stuff like that. So I've done a lot of, dumpster diving for certain types of wood and stuff like that. But at the same time, like I have personally heavily invested into things like the rock walls. Those are really expensive. The props and stuff like that. So I would say it's totally relative to what you want to spend. The biggest part is just make a budget that you're comfortable with, and then figure it out from there.
Your means. Don't. People won't know what you didn't do, and they won't, and they won't expect that you spent a bunch of money on it. So if you don't have to spend a bunch of money on it, don't. Make it cheaper within your means, but spend more time than money. Because your time and it makes it more worth to you. If you can make something instead of just outright buy it, you can buy it for $10,000 or you can make it for $3,000, but you spent more time doing it and stuff like that. Like you were kind of saying with the targets. It probably has been pretty fun making those. Yeah, it's tedious, but it is still kind of fun making it because that like I made that. Once you step back, you're like, I did all this. I didn't just buy it and somebody came and went, boop, it's done. And so, that type of thing, and there are plenty like you who mix that together. You bought some stuff and you made some stuff, so don't ever go beyond your means just because you see other people spend a lot of money on something, there's just same amount of people that spend as much time as the other person did money. So
yeah, and that actually comes full circle to the very first thing that I even said when we started talking too, which I think is really cool. If you heard back at the beginning, my very first haunt experience was awful, from a budget perspective.
Right.
It was black sheets and a kid with like a flashlight that kind of jumped out.
Yeah.
What did you think about that haunt? You loved it.
I loved it.
Right.
Yeah.
So the reality is like, dude, even if you spend $50 or $100 on something that's just like you reach your hand in and it's spooky, or like some kid's gonna love it, and that's all that matters.
Yep. Well said. I think that's a great ending to this segment. Troy.
I think it is. So
that's
a lot
what I
about
like here.
See, it's good.
That was a great Sean. We're gonna just have you on for the rest of the season to be our segment guy or our segue guy, because that was perfect.
Right.
You wrapped that up, put a bow on it, and gave it right to Troy. Thank you.
We're gonna need you to just like record about 50 segues and then just send them to us. That'd be great.
Cool. Yeah, and then I'll ship you my shooting gallery when I'm done.
Right. Actually, I will just pick it up on my way through Colorado when I drive to Texas next year when I move, because I'm gonna go right through Colorado on the way. So I'll just stop on by, and you can just throw it in the bed of the truck as it drives by. All right.
Done and done. Look at that.
When are you moving?
Next July is the plan. Based on house selling or buying. So I'm buying a house, I'm not selling a house, so I don't really have that issue. I can just pretty much leave whenever I need to. So we're going to start looking in April. We're hoping to be driving away July 1st.
Cool. Yeah, you're always welcome to swing by on your way.
That is sort of the plan. Is we were actually thinking of stopping in Colorado for the night somewhere. So I've already talked to Michael Edwards as well up there at Terror on the Corn. So but it will be closer when we're in Dallas than we were from Portland. So but yeah, so we have his Instagram where he talked a lot about it, and this is one of the more intense Instagrams that I've seen. He's got the different things you can click on here, so you can click on the shooting gallery, and it takes you to.
Do you hear that, John? Your Instagram is intense.
It's intense. This is, look. I mean, he's got the different things. I don't do Instagram, so this is new to me.
Troy, I love you.
I just post. I have things post to Instagram for me. I don't.
Yes. You don't get intense.
I don't get into. I do TikTok though. But
you do. Yeah, that's intense.
He also has a website, which is this is even more intense. Look at that. I mean,
there's actually a hidden ghost somewhere in this website that you have to find.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah.
No, I'm busy.
Oh, there it is. Just kidding.
That's not.
No, as you scroll, it slowly animates towards you, but it's really, really hard to see. So if you go to the top, I'll show you where it is. So if you look at the second picture, scroll really slow down. The front picture of the cave entrance, keep going. It comes out from inside the cave at you really, really slow.
Oh, I see it.
Yeah, so as you scroll up, it gets more visible.
Oh, I see. Oh, dude, that's so cool.
Oh, now I see it. Oh, that's bad. Let's do it again. Oh, that's
so there
sweet.
It's gone.
Damn.
Yeah. Okay, we're not going to give that away anymore. But yes. So he's got it. I mean, he's got a. I mean, this is an amazing website.
It's intense.
Thank you. It's
way intense. Then he's got this boring Facebook page. Come on, what? Come on. This is
people use Facebook,
right? It's a Facebook to get to your Instagram and your
we made this last year, and it was just like everything we've done is on Instagram.
It's really just a segue to those things, some people like I use Facebook a lot for my business part of it, but for my home hunt, it's not, it's definitely, TikTok and Instagram for that, and YouTube. And then he's got his YouTube, which is not Brutal Planet Haunted House, Wicker Manor. And he's got the videos up here for the shooting gallery and the elevator and several years haunt. So you can watch that. You can follow along on there. So obviously probably the first thing is to hit up the Instagram.
And if you have questions on anything, I'm pretty active on there throughout the day. So always happy to share info.
And if you're in the so are you actually in Denver or are you outside Denver?
Yeah, it's like 15 minutes east of downtown Denver.
Okay.
Oh, look at you go.
So if you're in Colorado this October, go visit the mine shaft.
The Wicker Manor.
I'll be here.
See, and I like that name because the name doesn't handcuff you to any theme. There's no theme to that, you know.
Yeah.
Real quick, where'd you come up with the name?
The neighborhood we're in is called Wicker Park. And so since we originally did this just for the neighborhood kids, we just named it Wicker Manor.
So if you move out of the area into, let's say, a location where you're going to move this, are you going to keep Wicker Manor?
Yeah, that'll be the name. It's going to be, we have pretty robust plans already kind of in place for building that out, but it'll be a big steel structure that's like a sound stage. Yep. And that big tall ceilings and stuff like that. And it'll be like sound stage 1 and then sound stage 2. And then like the collection will be kind of the Wicker Manor as like the parent company.
Love it.
Unless you move to a town called Basket, because then you'll just have to be Wicker Basket.
Wicker Basket.
I am full of dad jokes. So
that's Wicker cool, guys. That's
Wicker cool. Look at you, Dad. 3 dads on here making dumb jokes.
Oh man. Well, Sean, thank you so much for coming on tonight. It's been a blast. I really, really like the show that you put on. I wish I lived closer to Denver because I would totally come out and check it out. We'll keep following you through October and make sure we get to see all the fun stuff that's happening.
Totally.
Troy, before we leave, what's going on next week?
Next week, I don't know.
You know,
do you really want to show? I mean,
should we just?
It's going to be me and Dan again because
I was going to say, should we just tell Susie we're showing up and then let her show up by herself?
And I'll do the segues.
Right.
Sean will show up for segues.
Nice. Next week we are going to feature Christopher Presley and this guy, but mainly Christopher. And we will talk all about the Home Haunter Awards. That I'm gonna handcuff myself to this. They will be out Sunday night, so we will debut it Sunday night.
That's dangerous stuff right there.
It is dangerous stuff. I told Christopher, I said, I'm going to send you the award show Wednesday night. I need you to watch it so that Thursday night I can fix it if there are any problems, because then I'm camping on Friday. So I will be camping all weekend, and then I'll come back and it will be ready to go probably about 6:00 Pacific time on Sunday. Sweet. So,
well, I'm excited to talk to Mr. Presley.
Yes. Yep.
It's been a while since
So we'll talk all about it. We've got news to announce about next year's awards and all. Well, this for what you're building for now and things like that. So we have a couple new ideas and new categories, stuff like that. So it's going to be fun.
Fantastic. So, all right, guys. Until
Thank
next
you very much, Sean.
Night. Yep. Thanks, Sean, for coming on, and we'll see everybody next week, Tuesday, 8 p.m.
Yeah.
See you guys later.